like to welcome on our next guest of the program, Laurie Brednich, who's CEO, founder of HR Company Store. Laurie, good to have you on the program. Good morning.
Thank you for having me on the program. I really do appreciate it, and it's a great honor.
Yeah, you bet. Before we kind of take a deep dive into here, give our audience a backgrounder on yourself and the evolution of HR Company Store, because you have some really, you got a good amount of quality experience as an HR benefit leader there that I think led to your vision here with creating HR Company Store. So kind of share that with our audience, if you would, please.
Absolutely. I started many, many years ago. I'd like to say, when I was about 6. I started working in the insurance industry. I've been in it 25 years or more, and I still can't imagine that I've been doing this long. But started, working with Horizon Blue Cross, and then I moved over to MetLife and really learned the insurance side of the house and spent some time at an equipment breakdown insurance company called Hartford Steam Boiler. So I learned production and manufacturing, and decided that my heart and my soul was really on the health insurance side. And I'm like, how do I use all this knowledge that I have and really make a difference? So I decided to move over to the employer side at that point, where I worked for American Standard back when American Standard also owned Trane Air Conditioning, and a small company called Wabco. I spent about 5 years there and helped them really create their first wellness program, to the point we were actually written up in Business Week magazine. And this was back in early 2000 that happened. Left there, moved on to the National Basketball Association, and to this day I still can't shoot a basket to save my life. I spent a short time there, moved on to Pinnacle Foods Group. You probably have never heard of them, but you know everything that they make. Swanson Hunger Man Dinner, Duncan Hines, Van de Kamp, Mrs. Paul's. And they're an iconic food brand manufacturer, and they're heavily unionized. So I spent a lot of time developing their wellness programs, obviously directing their benefit packages, negotiating the programs, and really created a program and the synergy around health and well-being for that whole organization. So much so that we took so much cost out of the cost stream. The last year that I was there, we had a -2 increase, and that was without transferring any more cost to employees, and that was without reducing benefit. Left there because I wanted to move to the sunny state of Arizona, and I was at GoDaddy for 5 years and helped them last year get on the Fortune Best Place to Work list, and then most recently Sprouts Farmers Market. So after having spent, and I think I added it up one day, I was close to about $500 million of company money that I have spent over the years. I've been very frustrated with how do I find vendors. When you take a look at the world, you know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. So as I try to look for unique programs for the employers that I've worked for, I've said, okay, well, there can't be only 3 people that do wellness or 3 companies that do wellness. There's got to be more than that. And then one day, I was looking at my husband and I said, I just wish there was this website that I could say I'm an Arizona employee, I have 5,000 employees, and I'm looking for, oh my Lord, that is an awesome idea. And that was the beginning of HR Company Store. So really took that idea of, creating that online platform or that Yelp or Angie's List for the HR professional. And we started about a year ago with the idea, and really it's been the last few months that we've had a product that we've been able to sell to the vendor market, so the vendor partner market.
So Laurie, is the business model? Do the vendors support this? Do they pay to participate, and then the employers can use this as a free tool? How does it work?
Well, I'll go the other way around. I'll start with the HR professionals. Having been an HR professional for as many years as I have, I realize it's almost impossible to get a dime. So it's completely free for the HR professionals to use. However, the vendors have marketing budgets, and this is really a B2B marketing opportunity for them. But we didn't want to exclude any vendor. We didn't want to say, well, you can't play if you don't pay. So they have the opportunity to create, at least at a minimum, a free profile to be able to say their name, their address, and what one of the 70 categories that we have listed on the site, they can identify which categories they do business in, and they could do that completely for free. Or they can upgrade to a custom profile where they can put in their logo, they can put in a video, pictures, they can put in marketing material where they'll get hot leads from the site, things along that line. So it becomes more of an interactive tool for them if they choose to upgrade, but we didn't want to exclude anybody, so we did create the free profile option.
Okay, so there's a fee that they pay. Is there a pay-for-performance type of arrangement too, or is it just a fee that they pay to participate with the larger, more rounded-out profile?
No, it's just a flat fee. It's a flat annual subscription cost.
That's great. So how does this work in conjunction with, you put in your benefit and HR hat. I mean, you've got advisors and consultants working with you. So how does this work in conjunction with, the advisors or the brokers or the consultants you have working with you, or is this more geared to that small to mid-sized company? Take me through that a little bit, if you would.
Well, I've worked for companies that had 20,000 employees and some as small as 3,000 employees. And honestly, the struggles are the same no matter what size the company. It's really trying to find the vendors. It does not replace the consulting or the broker community at all. It actually enhances them. Because whether you're a company of 20,000 or a company of 2,000, even the broker, regardless of what brokerage firm or consultant you're using, they only have access to what they have access to. This way, everybody has at least knowledge of all the players in the market, and then they can use that to enhance their knowledge base to be able to say, let's look at the reviews, because, companies change. Perspectives change over time, and, they may have worked with a company 2 years ago, but they may not have any clients working with them today. So even the broker and consultant community can use it to help enhance the value that they're bringing to their clients. There's never enough information on the site for anybody to quote-unquote make a decision. We don't allow any of the vendors to put pricing information on because 25 PEPM is meaningless really when you think about it, because you don't know what's included in that. And it may be different if you're a company of 10,000 or a company of 200. So it's really just to get the visibility out there and market the opportunity to have additional conversation, whether you're on the employer or the consultant side of the house.
Yeah, so you answered. So the benefit brokers, advisors out there, and even consultants can see this as a tool to use along, with their client as well. This can be a good
absolutely.
Tool. Yeah. Hey,
we highly
Laurie,
encourage that. Exactly.
Yeah. So talk about some of the. Are there other services here? Because I mean, you have a lot of knowledge, and you actually did a nice piece with us on the art of the RFP that I want you to talk a little bit about. So are there other services here that you provide to really help that employer or even advisor who's using this tool?
At this point, no. It is just truly the platform to find the vendors, learn about the vendors, and decide which vendors that you want to begin conversation with. As we grow and we progress, one of the things that we'll be looking to is being able to provide blogs and forums so people continue to have conversations, maybe not about a vendor, but other things that are of interest to them. And we're looking for resident experts to help us create, as I talk about during the art of the RFP, trying to keep your number of questions down to a minimum. Well, we want to be able to help at each one of our categories, trying to figure out, at least from a basic platform, here's 5, 10, 20 questions that you may consider asking, to kind of help those professionals get at least a head start when they're going into this unknown world of trying to purchase services. Whether it's the first time or the 100th time, things are always different. So trying to help them out along that way.
Now, this helps them get to that more, to developing a more efficient RFP process. Talk a little bit about if you would, about the art of the RFP and your 5 tricks to really making this successful. I thought it was a very good read.
Thank you so much. I've purchased probably 200 different services, if not more, over the last 25 years. So I started off early in my career where my RFPs were, 80 pages. And then I realized somewhere along the line that I had to read all of those responses. And where I wanted to ask all the questions, I realized that, I send it out to 5 vendors. I have 100 questions per vendor. That's 500 questions I have to read the responses to, and then keep it all straight. So my first tip was really keep it short. The RFP really doesn't have to be a dictionary. It can be short. It's enough to get them into the door for the finalist meeting. Yes, you need your basic questions about, what is your account structure going to look like? What, have you ever been sued? Are you insured properly? There's a standard set of questions that kind of has to go with every RFP, but then there's the meat of it. And the intricacies, the things that you as the HR professional need to know, those really can be limited to 10 or 20 questions depending upon what you're purchasing. And if you can narrow it down to that 10 or 20, it's going to save you hours of reading time. But you're going to still have a ton of other questions. So instead of putting them in the RFP and making the vendors go and everybody answer them, put them on a score sheet for yourself, which would be tip number 2. As you're going through this, put all the other questions that you have, the ancillary ones, on a score sheet. So as you go through the finalist meetings, you can literally ask the questions and write yourself some notes so you have something to go back to. That will be way more meaningful to you than it would be if it's in the RFP. The next thing that I recommend in the art of the RFP is to engage your procurement and your purchasing group. A lot of companies have them, especially if they're manufacturing or if they're making anything when they have to buy raw material. They usually have somebody who's in charge of purchasing or supply chain, something along that line. Use them. That is what they're there for. We don't have to be the heroes and do everything ourselves. And it took a while for me to learn that lesson, but now use it all the time, because not only do they have the tools, there's actually all types of tools that they can use to help get RFPs out, manage that entire process for you, help you build questions, the whole bit. But on top of that, they can help you play bad guy. Because in the end, when you're doing finalist meetings and you're asking all the questions, you're going to pick somebody, and you have to now work with them for the next 3 to 5 years. So if you have to play bad guy from a negotiation standpoint, that doesn't set the right tone for your relationship going forward. So what you want to do is engage these folks and then work with them, and then if necessary, let them play the bad guy role. So then it kind of leaves you as, I have to do, we've decided, we've cut your prices in half. We really want you to work with us. But now that was our purchasing arm helping us through that. But now we can start building our relationship as we move forward for the next 3 to 5 years. One of the other ones is to talk to the vendors before you RFP. So let's say this is the first time you're purchasing this product, whether it's just something you've never experienced before, or if it's a new product that's out there that your organization's interested in. Well, instead of going and calling your broker or you're calling your consultant, them going out to 3 or 4 people and building the RFPs and doing all of that pre-work where you're really maybe not all that sure of exactly what you're looking for, phone calls and conversations up front will help you dramatically. Find a few vendors, ask them for a half-hour phone call. Say, hey, what do you offer? Help me understand, this is kind of what I'm trying to get at. Help me understand how your tool or your service is going to help me the best. And then once you've had several of those conversations, it will help you hone in on your actual RFP to what is actually important to you. And trust me, from the vendor side, they much prefer to have a half an hour phone call than spend 2 weeks on an RFP and then not get the business. And then lastly, the most important one is the question of who do you send it to? Well, that's where HR Company Store comes in. Because if you don't know, or if your consultant isn't knowledgeable in all of the folks that play in a certain category, you may not send it to the one that would do the best for you. So you go on HR Company Store. We have over 70 categories. We have already over almost 2,000 different companies in those 70 categories already uploaded with free profiles. People are going out there rating them. They're providing reviews on them. Go out and take a look. Go out and see who's in that industry. Work with your consultant, work with your broker, and say, hey, have you heard of these people? What do you think of them? And then together you can come up with a plan in order who you should be contacting or who you should send your final RFP to. And those would be my 5 tips and tricks for getting through the RFP process as painlessly as possible.
That's great, Laurie, and we're kind of coming up to the end of the segment. This has been a great discussion and a great overview. Give our audience some takeaways you'd like to leave them with around HR Company Store, if you would.
Well, HR Company Store really is for them. It's really they're designed to help make their lives easier. And we want to encourage HR professionals to go out there and review and rate their favorite vendors. So much so that I'm going to surprise you guys. We are going to actually do a raffle. So for the first 1,000 reviews that we get from HR professionals, we will give away 2 Apple Watches on November 11th after the close of your forum. For every 1,000 more reviews after that first 1,000, we will add 2 more watches. So if we get 10,000 reviews, that's 20 Apple Watches that will be raffled off. From a vendor partner standpoint, if we have any of the vendors listening in on this, and they mention that they heard about HR Company Store through this podcast, we will give them a second year for free. So if they want to upgrade their membership or their subscription with HR Company Store, we'll give them the second year for free.
That's fantastic. And again, as you heard Laurie say, she will be at IHC Forum West. She will be speaking on the program as well as HR Company Store will be exhibiting there. So, come and see her and have a chance to talk with her. Laurie, it's been great having you on the program. I look forward to seeing you real soon. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You guys too. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Take care, Laurie.